Let's begin in Adamawa State as the aftermath of the recent devastating flood in Yola South local government area continues to raise concerns, with the residents of affected communities pointing fingers at a mining site dam located at Uki Hills in neighboring Fofore local government area as the cause. Some community members believe the disaster wasn't entirely natural. Many allege that a dam built at a mining site atop the hills gave way and triggered the flood. In response to the growing concern and to ascertain the facts, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri visited the alleged source of the flood, the dam within a mining concession in Fofore. The dam, operated by a private mining company, is relatively small in capacity. Experts on the governor's entourage described it as a collection pond rather than a full-scale reservoir.
Spillway, as you can see, we have two different discharge. One is an emergency, and temporarily this is what we are using for the time being before we can create a more comprehensive spillway.
This is a licensed mining site. It's not illegal. We were here on a Saturday before the flood. Where you saw us now standing, it was the same thing. We came again after the flood. It is still the same thing. If it is a flood, the whole of this place we have completely gone.
Potentially, if not properly handled, perhaps with more rainfalls, it could be a threat. But at the moment, and with the past flood, this place was safe.
I think even in the next 10 years, with the water level we have seen here, it can't be a threat. So we'll go back to the community and see and continue to make our assessment, the blockages and the rest, and remove them, and give the people an ease of life.
Now, an environment expert, Professor Liman Tuko, joins me on the news for more on this. Good to have you join us, Professor Tuko.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin with this controversy around the cause of the flood. Residents say it is a dam within a concession site, but the governor has visited and said it is just, along with experts who say it is just a collection pond and not necessarily, doesn't have the capacity to be a reservoir, let alone cause flood. I just want to get your reaction to that.
Thank you very much. The unfortunate flood, was the most devastating, but that is not to say that floods have not been happening in and around Yola. To understand what exactly happened, we need to understand the nature of the terrain, the nature of the geological setting, and the land use. But most importantly also, we need to also understand, to some extent, some terminologies in full day. Where the dam is sited is called Lugeregefa. Lugere means a bowl. It is a very large bowl where ordinarily, whether dammed or not, it used to serve, as a detention dam for the stream that comes from the very hills. Passing by it, when it is in excess, water is retained or detained in the bowl. And that is what the company exploited. At its own shoulder, where it narrowed between two adjoining hills, a sort of a pass, technically called a pass, that is where they impounded, detaining more water. But they also provided an outlet, a spillway where water is naturally flowing. As a direct, as a crow fly, directly if you take it from the major point of impact to the Lugeregefa, that is the Gefa Bowl on the hills, it is roughly 11 kilometers. But going through the meander of the river, it takes about 18 kilometers. But then you also have to understand the nature of the very hills. Where the bowl is, where the company sited its own reservoir, is the Uki Hills. It's part of the very network. But there is also the Tuki side of it, some west of that area. As it were, it is a dendritic drainage pattern. Dendritic means you know, it is just like this. If you are seeing my hand, you know, you have series of streams coming from the hills and then joining to a main one. The one passing through that bowl is one of the very large streams that we have there. But there are also several others. There is a Lomorco stream. There is Domayo. Mayo means a river. There is Maelkohi, which is also a river. And there are several others. By the time the water from the bowl reaches, you know, Bole, Lakare, and ultimately to some parts of Shagari and west of Yola, and before Yoldepate, where it is more popularly known as Chochi River. There are several others that join the river at an angle that make it difficult for the longer coming stream from the bowl to, you know, get chance into the main area of impact. So it is detained.
So Professor Tuko, I just want to
onto some of the settlements.
Just a minute, Professor Tuko. I want us to situate this conversation in a way that everybody understands. And if I'm getting your point, is that you're saying that the mining site has obstructed the flow of water from several rivers because of where it is constructed, and perhaps that's the problem, that's the challenge and the cause of the flood. No, I'm saying somewhat opposite of that. All right. The bowl is like a retention reservoir. Whether the company is working there or not, water naturally collects there and spills down through that particular channel. All right, I just wanted us to ultimately into River Benue. All right, I just wanted us to at least so everyone can. Sorry, Professor Tuko, because of time, I just wanted our viewers to be able to understand what you're saying. The governor also did mention issues around blocking of drainage channels as perhaps one of the reasons for the flood. I also want you to speak to that, and then what you think the solution is going forward. You see, it's a pulsation of the nature of the terrain and land use. Land use in the sense, you know, we have never had that massive built-up area within the major drainage systems. That is a major problem. It's a land use issue, and principally a failure of development control. A lot of places that have submerged, they ought to have naturally been just wet green areas. And that is what they are marked for on the development plans. But then, due to recklessness, due to lack of development control, as I said, you know, people build on waterways. Not only that, most of the drains have also become refuse dumping site. So if you have excess water coming from the hills, you know, with the drains blocked, with built up, you know, areas completely blocking water access, naturally, the areas will get inundated once you have that kind of a very long, several hours of heavy, you know, torrential downpour. So logically, it's a mixture of the nature of the terrain and land use. Basically, that is it. All right, we're monitoring the situation there. Quite sad that lives have been lost. Thank you so much for your time. Environmental expert, Professor Liman Tuko. Thank you for having me.